And we're live.
And we're live.
And we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you for being patient. I scheduled us for 4:30 Eastern time, and it is now 4:44.
Hey.
So thank you guys for being super patient. I just was having a bit of a makeup crisis. This is one of the downfalls of having to do everything on camera, is that you generally ought to put some thought and effort into how you present your face to the world. So anywho, you guys, welcome back. Episode 2 of Alchemy Chats is in the works. This is Anthony here, one of my favorite people on planet Earth.
Hey. Nice.
I know, he was like, wow, that's a lot.
Cool. I'll take it.
So, Anthony's been very instrumental for me personally, just the last, I want to say 4 years since we met in 2017. 2019. Sorry.
You were 4 years, so you're right.
It was just my second math was off. Okay. Math isn't my
the equals part, yeah.
Right. I wanted to have him come on the show. He and I have recorded content before. He has really helped me navigate the technological aspect of things and has been just key support. That's actually how we met at eStudy. Some of you guys might know and have already been to eStudy, but that's how he and I met. Why don't you take a minute here to introduce to everybody yourself, who you are, what you do, and then I'll get into the very fun story about how we met and what we're thinking we're going to do out here.
Okay, sweet. So my name's Anthony Leiser. I started a company called Lights Camera Ascension. It's my own media company back in 2021, so it's still pretty fresh here. But basically, I worked in the industry, the film industry, for about in Los Angeles for about 7 years. I did 2 years professionally here in Chicago before, I kind of just decided while I was having like my awakening I would say 2018, probably. I mean, I'm still learning stuff, but I just started to have some different thoughts on stuff and decided to leave California in 2020, right at the beginning of COVID. So when I left, I decided I was just going to either go out and make a new ghost show or do something that is literally more impactful, I think, than the stuff that I was working on previously, which was some reality TV documentaries and stuff like that. But I just got sick of people telling me what to do, or using my content and the stuff that I worked on without giving me any credit to it, or taking any ideas that I had, but then utilizing them later on. So it was just a lot of stuff. I just got over it. And I don't know if I would have met you. I would have never met you if I didn't move to Los Angeles, and if if my mom didn't move out to California as well and start basically getting me back into the paranormal, but everything else kind of realm that we're in here right now. Because without going into contact in the desert in Joshua Tree, I would have never had the opportunity to actually go to a city. I mean, I would say for free, but it wasn't for free. I paid my way there.
eStudy was one heck of an experience. For those of you that are not familiar with eStudy, it is a ranch / property where people from all over the world fly in. It's owned and run by James Gilliland, and a lot of people that I know personally have been out there. I've met a lot of people out there that I've still kept in contact with. You're an example of one of those people. And it's out in it's on the Mount Adam. Mount
Adams. Yep.
And so that's the location of it. And it was a lot of fun. 2017, 2019. Why?
Yeah, I don't know. Did you go? Weren't you there before?
Well, no, like James Gilliland invited me to speak on the panel. I just don't, one summer. I just don't remember exactly what year it was. I think it was literally 2017 because
it must have been
it was Trump's first administration. It was his first run. So and I remember giving my presentation summer, like July of that, of like it was like high time for the Q movement and you know, the right. It was a lot of fun. Those were good days. But Anthony handled my lights and my lighting and my sound and all of that stuff for my presentation. And it was my first relatively like larger live crowd that I was presenting to, so I had a lot of nerves. And Anthony was hilarious. I was like so I was like so nervous. You know, before a presentation you have to do like a rehearsal, what the set is going to look like or what you want. So, you know, I'm telling him what song I wanted, and I don't know exactly why it came to mind or like how it happened, but he was like, Arms Wide Open by Creed. Got it. Like, that's your It was great because it was like, okay, I feel a lot better because that's just ridiculous. And so our friendship was born. And so for everybody listening, so Anthony does have prior experience, work experience in reality television, namely some very popular, well-known ghost hunting shows or ghost related shows. And so that's really a common space that he and I have been able to navigate together through our conversations. And we take great interest in things like cryptids and hauntings and the true nature of hauntings and ghosts. And so that's really what I wanted to talk about today. And I wanted everybody to know that you have done some really awesome work, namely on one very popular, well-known cryptid known as the Mothman.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to let everybody know like about that, and you know, if they wanted to go check it out.
Yeah, so I mean, that's Point Pleasant, so that's not New Jersey. That's West Virginia, Point Pleasant, West Virginia. So basically, like right before my move back to California, I started back to Chicago here. I was watching this show called Hellier, and for those of you who haven't seen it, you can check it out on YouTube. You just look up Hellier, Hellier, and it's all free there, 2 seasons. But basically, like, they show the actual investigation portion of what an investigation would look like, whether it's a paranormal or looking into something like Mothman or, I mean, when I decided to go to actual Point Pleasant, I had been hired to go shoot a paranormal YouTube show in Virginia. So I used that to my ability and like shot my own stuff on the way back. And honestly, like, my thoughts have really started to change on Mothman. So like when I originally went there, I wasn't originally looking for Mothman. There's a character that is always talked about called Indrid Cold. And basically he is, he was a extraterrestrial, as so he claimed, and he took a few people up on a ship who have told their stories and have told their connections with this space person who lives in that area. But it's all like close to Appalachia. It's all the whole Appalachia. It's all connected somehow. And what I actually like started to think about now with Mothman is there was a military base that's right over there. And there's been a lot of speculation that, you know, maybe it was like a super suit, someone in a super suit.
Right.
And now, so I'm like, okay, hold on. I can kind of see that. But then I'm thinking like, well, if, if it's not us, what if it's this Mothman character or creature is actually just an ancient version of a civilization that was here before, but their technology is so far advanced that they were able to create flying, you know, suits for whatever they are. But then they always say that they see red eyes with this creature. So I'm like, okay, well, I work with cameras, I work with night vision, like that's what I do. And what do you need for night vision? IR, infrared. So it would make, and that glows a red. It's like a dark burning like red
Right.
color, right? So
Right.
then I'm thinking, I'm like, well, hold on, like the person it could have been a helmet with red, you know, goggles or like the IR light coming out. I have no idea. But to be completely honest, I'm really unsure. Like I don't know if I really buy into the Mothman prophecy stuff, you know, with the bridge collapse and everything like that.
No, I kind of do, man. I think the idea that some kind of an entity, whether it be more elemental in nature, meaning sort of just part of the natural fabric and natural order, or the idea of some kind of, you know, advanced super soldier technology, the idea, so like when there's a huge passing like that or some huge traumatic event such as a major bridge collapse where hundreds of people lose their lives all at once, and what this does is it generates so much panic and fear and sadness that I believe what those emotions do, because they're tangible, measurable, sort of, that matter has, there's units to it, you can measure it. That's how dense human emotion is. I think that these things come in before, after, during. I don't know if they're there, I guess it's case by case basis, but what I see in my mind's eye is an event like that has the potential to tear fabric, like to tear the fabric of the time space continuum, because of the high concentration, the punch, if you will, associated with that huge emanation of emotional energy. So Mothman has always been of particular interest to me as well, because of, you know, modern people in that community were able to interface with it in such an interesting way, like that that shaped the face of that entire region. Do you know
Oh,
what I mean?
definitely. Yeah.
And in terms of like modern folklore, I think that's one of the bigger things that we have that happen that we can use as this really powerful reference point.
There's a lot that people don't realize about that area though, Point Pleasant. It's so where that bridge is literally located like across, like it's obviously over a river, right? But it's over connecting rivers. I think it's the Ohio and the Mississippi. I could be wrong. But it's definitely, there's a connection right there of two rivers that come together.
Yeah,
And but not even that. Like that's what's so nuts about this is that I've tried to like uncover after being there. There's a giant that whole area was a battlefield.
of course.
It's deemed, if you look it up, it's the 1774 Battle of Point Pleasant, and it is supposed to be the first battle said to have been in the war of 1774, getting our freedom from the redcoats, right? So if you didn't know that, there's a lot of people that don't know that, because there's another battle that takes the top rank just because it's so much more well known. But
Mhm.
on that land, they built a obelisk in 1901. And that obelisk sits literally kitty corner to the silver bridge that collapsed, and it was there while like it had already been built, obviously. So the bridge fell November 15th, 1964. That could be 67. So, and that's also weird too, because I have like a lot of weird connections with that specific date. And I didn't even know that historical fact until like I physically went there and saw a plaque like sitting right in front of the bridge that said, "This is when it fell." I was like,
And don't you have
"Oh,
footage somewhere too? Like you literally
yeah."
have that.
Yeah, I went on to it's on my YouTube channel. So if you just look up Lights Camera Ascension on YouTube, it's the the Point Pleasant Scalar Gateway episode. Is an episode of a series I was titling Super Normal.
Okay.
And yeah, I do a whole investigation. What was it?
Well, I was just going to say, everybody make sure you go over to his YouTube channel. At some point, I will put that in the description. I did put your website in there. But really quick, I have a comment I just want to put up on the screen really quick. Jenny is such a bitch. Just the look of contempt on her face when people
I
she
was
doesn't.
wondering if you were going to blast that.
So here's the thing, Carter. Your mom is disgraceful. Your sister, your brother, your dog are disgraceful. This is just my face. And if I didn't like Anthony, he wouldn't be here talking. So have fun from your mom's basement. And yeah, that's just my face.
I love it.
All right. Let's just get
I'll post my link in the chat.
yeah. So and so Anthony and I have talked about we've like really because I grew up watching ghost shows. Like I know you did too. Ghost Adventures in particular was just this really fun part of like the 2010s. Like every Friday night you look forward to Zach Bagans and the crew, and you have personal experience with them. And I want to get to that in just a second, but over the course of the past decade or more, we've seen some, what I would consider some redundancy with a lot of the ghost shows, the ghost hunting shows. They're not, you know, I've seen a lot of people approach it from angles that make sense to people like you and me that are looking at it from a more interdimensional sort of, from a place of, how do I want to put it? Just a larger scope, a broader perspective, as opposed to just like, you know, sort of the quintessential haunting stories, like the quintessential, you know, little girl ghost or, you know, murder mystery and residual energy. We're trying to push things a little bit more and get into the how is this happening, the sort of the mechanics, if you will, of a haunting, and try to understand who and what they are in relation to who and what we are, all for the purpose of bridging these gaps and having a deeper understanding of our place in the universe. So, you know, gone are the days where people are super satisfied with the idea of just like, let's go into some place with an EVP and try to scare the crap out of ourselves. Like, it's more than that, you know, like we've talked about going
that's dangerous.
It is. It's dangerous, but it's always kind of the same situation where, you know, somebody in the group undergoes some level of oppression. They become depressed, they become sick, dizzy, and they have to leave. And I think what I want to do is like, I don't really want to connect too much with like things I don't understand. I just want to understand what is happening and how this is working. So we've talked about, you know, manifesting some kind of series. We'll see what happens with that. If we can manifest it and make that happen. But
I think we can. I mean, a lot of people now are looking for, they're always looking for evidence, you know. They always want, what's the newest thing I can do to capture this? And I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't, you know, on that search too. Like, this is literally basically the job I've given myself by creating Lights Camera Ascension. But I mean, just to build off what you said, like, yeah, those shows were great in that time. Now, especially after having an awakening, I guess you could say, it's like putting the glasses on in, you know,
They
whatever that
live.
movie's They Live. Yeah.
They live.
It's, oh my God, it is so like, it's like,
Yeah.
that's like, even from having to work on Ghost Brothers and Ghost Hunters on A&E, uh, you could tell in the edits, they're out here to try and scare you, because that's what this whole topic is. It's that
Mhm.
taboo Halloween topic still. And
Yeah.
we got to get away from that, because
Yeah.
it doesn't just happen around Halloween time. You know,
Right.
like
Right.
that's I don't understand where people like that's the only time they're really interested in it. Oh, I want to go get scared. Let me go to a Halloween thing. Like, well, you know, people live in haunted houses. People live in real fear every fucking day. And it's, sorry, I
Yeah.
don't know if I could swear here, but I
Well,
just
I think
did.
we might have one or two good F-bombs in it.
All
So
right, no worries. There will be no more. I'll try my best. But basically, it's like I can't see. I can see why people are interested in it that way, because that's how I got into it. You know, like, I wanted to get scared, but I was also more, I wanted to help people. So like
Mhm.
the shows that I really enjoyed watching, and I still do, like, I'll rewatch them, is Paranormal State.
I love Paranormal
That's
State.
all
Oh,
they wanted to do, was like go to places and help people.
yeah.
And that's like, and now all these shows are just like, all right, so we know this place is haunted.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna contact the owner. I'm gonna pay them money to investigate there, which anybody can do. So if you're listening and you want to go investigate somewhere, literally look the place up. You could probably book it yourself.
Yeah.
But when they were doing this thing, like, they're just building a story upon it, saying, we've had an influx of paranormal activity at this
Yeah.
place, and
Yeah.
we need you guys to come and tell us, or what. That's such bullshit, you know. All right, now I said the S word, so
That's okay.
but
You're the
yeah.
only one they flag
All
pretty
right.
heavily. So.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm used to it. But yeah, it's just there's things that they do in reality TV to really hype you up, and there's so many things that, like, people don't realize, especially with music. Music is like number, because it's frequency. They're using music to enact that fear instinct,
Oh
that
yeah.
that that
Sure.
fight or flight, like, oh you know, what are they gonna do right here? Did they capture something? And then boom, it goes to break. You know, so it's like, whoa, I didn't know that was possible. Wow, look at us now. Now it says
Really?
I heart P. Go back.
It actually, from where I'm sitting, it says I heart Poe, like the good old days.
Oh, like before. Oh
Like
man.
before in this.
Oh, well, now I'm gonna rip it down.
No, don't look this up. I like this has more of like a podcast vibe to
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It's I like it. It looks good.
I heart Poe.
I heart. Well, yeah, mine says P on mine, unless I'm covering it up with this text box. Yeah, I am. It says Poe. Okay, hey, that's fair. Uh, but
It's pleasant.
yeah, Point. Don't forget, it said Point Pleasant. So if you just tuned in now, this late in the game, that doesn't say poo or I don't know any other words. Yeah, it's not yeah, it's not the poet, whatever, Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh,
So back to real quick, is just the frequency stuff that they use on us daily. You know, it's in your advertisements, it's in every single show that you watch. That is the real way that this industry, the film industry, um, makes you feel like you're there, or to get you to come in, is like, all right, we're going to scare them here. And
yeah.
then here comes the commercial break, and hopefully they don't leave, you know? So it's like, it's all this stuff just to keep you around. But in all reality, like, they're not getting to the point. They're not getting to any answers. Most of the time, these shows aren't helping people anymore. And it's like, that's what's really sad to see, is because that's how I started investigating. When I was 15, I started going out with my mom and her friend and my best friend, and this psychic that we met. And we started going around and investigating at people's houses or apartments or whatever, and just trying to help them with the actual paranormal activity that they were experiencing, and not this like hyped up stuff that you see on TV now. But yeah, I mean, Ghost Adventures, that whole stuff, there's a lot of drama going on with that right now. I don't know if you know about that. I don't need to get into it, but
no, it's like, I just feel like people are ready to remove kind of that barrier that makes the idea of hauntings, because here's the thing, there's no way to talk about hauntings without facing like death and the finality of it, and the just the reality of it. And everybody that has been on this channel knows that we often talk about the cabal, the NWO, and these ancient death cults who have made it their business to campaign, create all these fear campaigns that keep people stuck in limitation. And one of those huge sort of big shrouded mysteries, one of the biggest deceptions that they've ever been able to perpetuate on us is death, is the idea of really what death is. They are invested in controlling our idea of what death is, and selling it as somehow like the worst thing that can possibly happen. Death isn't the worst thing that could possibly happen. Slavery actually is. Slavery of the soul, slavery of the corporeal, the body. So even, the idea of death and the illusion of it, the deception surrounding death, is very key when creating these, like, the typical ghost show. It's this very scary thing. But if you look at a lot of like indigenous cultures and ancient cultures, the world over, death is actually something that's a lot less taboo. It's something that's celebrated, and the fear element is, it's certainly hyped up in the Western world for ratings, for views.
Oh, yeah.
Fear but I just think it's time. I think it's just like where we're at in the great cycle that our understanding of death, it has to come into it. Some of you guys may remember a video I did very recently about this. 2023 is the year of the water rabbit. So water, and just the element of water having a lot to do with things like movement, fluidity, and change. This year we do see unfortunately, we see a lot of death coming, and we see, a Western psyche, if you will, the collective Western psyche having to contend with mass casualties, that, some of us have been trying to say were impending. We tried to say, don't do the thing. Don't take the thing. Don't do the thing. And so we see all of these sudden deaths. We see a lot of this stuff happening. And I believe that this is all an attempt to sort of, well, it's not an attempt. Maybe we could look at it as an opportunity to understand what's really going on here in terms of life and death. So anywho, I wanted to ask you if you wanted to share like your craziest haunting experience. So when I say haunting, like, you can define whether or not that means a human spirit, or what you could identify as a human spirit, or a cryptid, which I think is far more exciting, only because it's like, ooh, what's that? Very scary, very spooky, very mysterious.
Yeah.
Yeah, you tell me, and I'll share one of mine.
Well, I mean, geez, there's so many.
Pick one.
Well, I can't tell the scariest one.
Why not?
I could tell you why I can't tell you the scariest one. How about that? I'll tell you a quick little story on why I can't say it, and then you say yours, and then I'll figure out one to actually tell. Is that
Okay.
okay? All right.
Yeah.
I did an investigation back when I was 17 by myself. I hit on this a bit on my episode on Tinfoil Hat with Sam Tripoli. And even then, I didn't want to talk about it. But basically, I have this footage of this. You can call it an exorcism, but it was a we cleansed this person. We didn't use we used religious provocation, but we didn't have a priest there. It was just
When
us.
you say religious provocation, sorry to interrupt, do you mean you're using Jesus's name?
The name of Jesus or any of the saints. I mean, to be honest, like this is part of the things that actually turned me to some sort of belief in a higher power, is what I witnessed with my eyes and physically in front of me, because I was a part of this thing. I don't want to hit on that. If you want, you can go on the website. You can go on lightscameracentric.com and watch my trailer for this documentary that will probably never see the light of day. It's called What's Your Story? That's the trailer for it, and it's on my website. If you just scroll down, you'll see it in like one of the little thumbnails. But don't play it. Last time I said that on Tinfoil, they played it, and that's just sketchy. But be very weary if you watch it. So, or say a prayer before you watch it. There's something attached to this, and that's why I haven't worked on it. That's why I can't really talk about it. There's something with the footage, or there's something with it. It's that November 15th thing, like I said in the beginning of this, that was weird, that I found out that the bridge collapsed. Or no, sorry. I think it was the first sighting of Mothman was November 15th.
No way.
And then a year later is when the bridge collapsed, which I think the bridge actually collapsed in December. So I might have been completely wrong before, but now I'm correcting it. So literally, like, the last time I worked on this documentary was back in let's see, I have a timeline over there somewhere. It was like 2018, I think. I watched the documentary and I was like, damn, that was good. I want to do mine now. I sit on my edit bay. I open up a video. I start watching this interview. And within 2 days later, or no, the next night, I get a text from my mom. She said, Grandma fell. I was like, oh, shit. I was like, oh, okay, well, I hope she's okay. So at that time, I was living in Los Angeles. And all my family's here in Chicago. So I had... I got that text and I was like, okay, well, all right. I don't know what happened. Then the next morning, my mom calls me to explain to me what happened. And she said, she's like whispering to me on the phone. She had to go in the other room because my grandma just in the morning goes, so about last night when I fell, she was throwing garbage away. She was walking through the kitchen to throw garbage away. She was walking straight. And she said it felt like she was pushed, just shoved. And she went 7 feet to her left. So she's walking straight. She gets pushed this way and was like, just had bruises all over her back. She fell into the computer desk and onto the garbage, whatever. She had no idea I was working on this thing. But this isn't the first. So like when I said that and I told my mom, I was like, I've been working on it. She goes, okay. Well, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to touch that. I'm not going to risk, anyone's safety to work on this thing, but it's literally not the first time that weird stuff happens when I talk about it. So, if you want to hear more about it, I guess you could try and listen to.
But use your discretion.
Yeah, seriously, use your discretion. But it's in episode 617 of Tinfoil Hat podcast with Sam Tripoli. So, if you want, you can do that or watch the trailer. It doesn't really talk about the second part, but nonetheless, there's something up with this footage and I can't use it. And I can't edit it. I can't open it. I can't do anything with it because stuff starts happening to not only to me, but to people I live with, people I love. And I don't want to risk that. And I think whatever is attached to it knows that. They don't want the story to come out. Or I've looked at it a different way is I don't have the full story. I don't know exactly what happened. So to uncover it, I would have to look it up and do all this other extra stuff. And that's just still opening that doorway that I'm just like, I don't know if I want to do that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah.
So enough of my, riddles here. You
The
tell us
story
yours, and then I'll tell you. All right, I got my next one.
story about the story that he can't tell.
Yeah, sorry.
So this story I'm about to share, I'm going to share it because it's an example of a paranormal experience that I had where I had a witness, and where it happened while there was somebody else there, and they also experienced it. Excuse me, I have to fix my pasty.
You're wearing pasties?
They're
like those chicken cutlet things?
No.
Oh, all right. Well,
pasty.
they're actual pasties. Well, all right.
Shit, no, you got.
Well, now we all know, so it's okay.
That's not what a pasty is. A chicken cutlet is like where you need like it's like padding. It's like
yeah, I got it.
Mine are just for modesty. So, anyways,
it's a good way to put it.
you guys should see the things that Anthony and I
should see the videos that we can't share. The 4 hours of content that we've already filmed previous to this.
Yeah, I mean we've got a ton of stuff. Maybe it'll come out,
check the Patreon.
Check the Patreon. It's it's just because you guys know, like when you're in conversation with someone and really like it's just you two and it's late at night and you start talking about things that you just don't tell anybody else, like experiences you've had that under normal circumstances, even under daylight, like in daylight, you find yourself not facing those shadows, not talking about those things. And so like, I don't know, like over the course of the past few years, he and I have just been like, hey, like, you want to just like have like a jam sesh type of thing? And it's like, yeah. So there's been a lot of really cool conversations. If you guys hear any strange sounds, like the passing of gas, I have a sleeping Rottweiler, like about 3 feet away, and she has just been ripping ass for like
nice. I think there's no smell-o-vision.
A good thing there is no smell-o-vision. So if you guys see me making a face, it's just the dog. So, how old was I, man? I think I was like 14, maybe 15. And I lived in a house with my older brother, my parents' house. My brother's like a lot older than me. And I'd had paranormal experiences ever since I could remember. To me, there was almost a normalcy to it. And I eventually became accustomed to just being the outsider, where I would have these experiences and people really didn't know what I was talking about. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm just the weirdo. And that was fine. But we moved to this house in like, I don't know, 2000. It was the early 2000s. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 2000 and I don't know. But my brother and I were sitting in the living room. This house, I never really liked it. It was a nice house, but I had a hard time in every house we'd ever lived in, to be honest. And we were sitting on the couch and there was like, I guess, Animal Planet. We watched a lot of Animal Planet or something like that, or Discovery Channel, something to that effect. And we're just kind of like chilling, whatever. So it's time to go. We're going to go somewhere. He turns the TV off. And as he turns the TV off, we both hear at the same time what was like the continuation of a bah, bah, bah coming from my bedroom. And it was what was so creepy. I mean, the whole thing was creepy, but the strangest part about it was that you could tell that the sound had been happening even while the TV was on. Because we realized when we turned it off that we had been hearing it in the background, but we're thinking, the TV's on. We're not thinking that a strange sound is coming from the other room. But he turned it off and it was like, what the is going on, and it
Mm.
kept going.
Mm.
And this really confirmed a lot for me, because I had had really bad experiences in that house. Things like the sheets being pulled off of me. I've been slapped. I was hissed at in that house. And every time I went to my mother to tell her that I was going through this, she would tell me that I was imagining it. And I don't, unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people can relate to this, but when you're a sensitive youngster, even a sensitive adult, and you don't have people around you that can empathize or understand, or even, worst case scenarios, they think you're fucking lying, pardon my language. They think you're making it up for attention. And in the case of my mom, she was convinced that I was just like making these things up for attention because I wanted attention. So this was an example of a time where my brother could say like, no, I heard it too, and so it is something about it was like a lamb or a goat or something like that, bat coming from my bedroom, right?
That's weird.
So like, then like fast forward, we had a lot of like pool parties and stuff at that house, and my mom, like we had like a ton of people over, and I like overheard my mom talking to just some group of people, and like she was telling a story about how folks were walking by our house one day, and she was out on the lawn, and they said, oh, I know that house. We used to play with the Ouija board in the guest house.
Oh god.
And like, you have to understand, like, this is my mother telling a bunch of people this story. She doesn't think I can hear her. And I confronted her about it. I was like, I've been telling you for years that I'm struggling in this house, that I'm hearing things, seeing things, being harassed by things. And you told me this whole time that it was in my head. But now, you get a couple drinks in you, I don't know if you're just trying to like impress people or tell a fun story, but now you're confirming that this house was in fact some kind. And it turned out there was a little girl with cancer who died in my bedroom. She never told me that. I have to like find out. So it's like I felt very gaslit. There's a lot of gaslighting going on, where I was like, dude, I knew that I was going through torment, because as a youngster, a teenager, and a young adult, I think unless you really have your bearings, your spiritual bearings, or your grounding, or you either find Christ or you find some god or goddess, whatever your path may be, kids and youngsters are very, very susceptible to it. And I guess you guys can tell I'm still a little salty that I was so gaslit throughout my younger years. This is like, I knew something was going on, but you lied to me. So.
That's how it happens with most. I mean, because you got to think of it. She was probably shitting her pants every night she went to sleep, because
I don't think so. She acts like she's too cool. Some people act like they're not susceptible to it.
I mean, and that's their way to deal with the fear that's involved. Is if I don't believe it, I won't see it. Doesn't exist. That's so true with how much more in our lives, nowadays, especially, is, oh, if I don't see it, it doesn't exist. There are so many things that we talk about on a daily that people still believe that, that, oh, just because I don't talk about what the cabal or this shadow government is doing behind the scenes or in these underground bases, they don't want to believe it.
No,
it's because it's too much for them sometimes.
Block it out. Yeah.
I mean, it's like that earth shadow. I mean, do you know if your mom believes in ghosts? Does she believe in any of that?
Well, so the thing with them is like my parents always believed in that stuff. But when it came to me and like having open conversations with me, they were always trying to pretend like that stuff didn't exist. And I think because they just didn't want me to go down that path. And they always wanted me to do something like,
look at you now.
The government. No, they always wanted me to do something for the government, like something for the government or the military. And so anytime there was like any question about, esoteric stuff and spiritual stuff, the older I got, the less it was supported. They were like, no. And I have this kind of vision that develops, week by week, month by month. Someday, I think when I'm older, like when all of us have to get a little bit older, Spirit told me I wasn't going to get the kind of respect that I needed to do this particular project until I was in my 40s. Something about parents having more respect for people a little bit later in life, 40s and 50s and whatnot. But I would like to create some kind of sort of sister schools, if you will, academies, places where sensitive youngsters can come to learn about their grounding and their defenses. And what we'll certainly never do is gaslight these kids and tell them that this is going on inside of their head or anything like that, because I just feel like everything that they did wrong for me, and like I've seen it happen to a lot of other sensitive kids too, they happen to be born into families that are just naturally not supportive of it. It's like black sheep syndrome. You're born into a family that, and you're there to kind of, you're the curse breakers. You are there to break generational curses and start something new. And I just really want to, be the person that I needed when I was younger, to help spiritual development, psychic development. So someday within the next like 10 years or so, that is something that I would very, very much like to create. And I'm going to need, a whole lot of people. I'm looking for teachers. I'm looking for energy workers. I'm looking for everybody all across the board that wants to participate in this vision. And really it's for the kids, because we look at the school system right now, it's
oh my God, yeah.
falling apart, and we can't, if we're not building the new, then we're just going to be forced to conform to their decrepit, backwards systems. So
100%. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be involved in that.
For sure you are.
I'm just, even if you weren't thinking of me, hey, I am. I don't care. So it's live now. It's gonna live on YouTube.
I'm there.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think that's a huge thing that schooling is missing out on right now. Like, if kids nowadays could literally just be taught in school meditation.
Yeah. Oh my God.
How many issues would be solved? Like, because they're so lost. As a child, you're lost. You're looking for the answers of like, what's right, what's wrong, what should I do, what can't I do. It's like, but within all that, you get so lost and so mucked up, and then everybody else has their own opinions and they put their own things on you, and they have all these expectations for you, and you're like, I gotta go to college, I gotta do all these things, and in all reality, like, you create what you want to do, you create your own reality, and in that, you should be able to start viewing your own reality from inside yourself at a young age, or at least to be able to control that, like, where your head's all over the place, because
Control your thoughts, like
exactly
training 101. Control your thoughts. If you can control your thoughts, you can control anything and everything that matters.
Seriously. Yep. And there's just so many people who like, I didn't know about meditation. I thought it was all hippy dippy, all, whatever. Only these yoga people do meditation and stuff. Nah, like, I started doing it, and then I've fallen out of it recently, which I need to get back in it. But I was doing it, a lot, and it did help me. I mean, it helped me to realize a lot of stuff. And like, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now with Lights Camera Ascension if I didn't have that already in my, like, repertoire, or whatever you want to call it. Is like, literally, meditation is so big for people that no one really realizes it.
Oh, it's huge. It's a huge tool. So Brady here just said Montessori schools teach meditation. I didn't know that. I love the Montessori schools. Always hearing good things about Montessori schools. So that's a really awesome start. But yeah, could you just imagine if, well, maybe not kindergartners. I guess you can never really start too young. And it's not indoctrination, because I think meditation, instead of it being presented or taught as a, do it this way, I think it's more of a concept. It's more of an idea that you can find your meditative state by following, the patterns of your joy, and find out like what makes you super excited. Like, I know kids that just light up when they're in the presence of animals, but they can only kind of get into this special space when they're in the presence of animals. And it's like that is what that child's, inherent inclination is. And maybe there's a very special skill there for that child. And on the alternative side, there's artists, there's fighters, there are children that you can clearly see have this warrior spirit about them. And for them, that meditative state could be more about martial arts, or, some kind of, physical form training. But, I mean, I'm a mom. You're not a parent just yet, but you are an unk.
Yeah. Can you hear him?
No.
Yeah, I've heard him a few times. So
You're crying?
also live chat here. If you're hearing a baby, it's not paranormal. Okay.
I heard something. I thought maybe it was a cat.
I don't even own a cat. So definitely not a cat. No, he's
Is he dead though?
He's chilling downstairs. Yeah, he's doing great.
I was gonna say, do you have to hop off and take care of the bye-bye?
No. My mom is handling that.
She's got baby duty, huh?
Yeah. Well, mom and grandma, I'm sure, are on that right now.
Oh, yeah, good.
They're loving it.
Good.
Yeah.
It's baby season, that's for sure. I'd be lying if I said I haven't felt baby fever all of a sudden just the past few months. I'm just like,
I've seen your Facebook posts. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because I'm getting older. Like, I just turned 34, and I don't know. I'm like, dude, I think I could do another quick 1-2. I'm like, let's just, 2 more back to back.
Back to back.
Just, the next army. Which means like, the next 18 months, 24 months or so, I'll just like get into work. You know what I mean? But I don't have a partner to do that with.
Yeah.
I actually considered briefly like propositioning one of the fathers of my children and saying, do you guys want to engage in like a business transaction, as opposed to like, let's get back together or something like that. I would rather have the children have siblings, that are all related. I realize that that's insane, but I also, I don't think that there's a rhyme or reason to what they call baby fever, and it's made me a little bit irrational. So yeah, but baby's the best. I love kids. I love being a mom. Being a parent is just, it's like, dude, yes. It's like, yes.
Yeah, I'm still in between here. I'm unsure. I mean, he's not my child, but it's like, hey, I haven't lived with a baby before, but as soon as it's even weirder. It's like I moved back from California to hang out with all my friends and like, let's live it up like we were before. And now literally all my close friends have children. Yeah, they all got pregnant within the year I moved back and the next year. So literally like a big friend group that I have, they all have kids. So now I'm involved in stuff like that now because
I'll get older.
Technically, you have one here too.
I don't have. I have a lot of respect for people that decide that having children of their own isn't for them, because I think, why, if you know that about yourself, and or say there are things that are outside of your control and you can have children. But I think what children represent anyways are the future. That there are posterity. They are our continuation. They are an extension of our desire and will to live here, to be here, and to keep perpetuating life on Earth. So it's all about the kids. And I just, as far as like where these two bridges all meet and everything, it's like, I've always, even as a kid, I was always drawn to those questions. I didn't give a shit about social studies and math. It's all lies anyways. Do you know what I mean? It's all bullshit. And so I'm thinking, God, like how amazing would it be to find a way to offer children an education about the interdimensional world with, but by removing this barrier of fear. Obviously, there are certainly things on heaven and earth that we should be fearful of because they are dangerous and they are scary. And there's good reason why we are supposed to leave these things alone. But even educating children and letting them know that there are some things in the natural world that maybe you can't see that are meant to be respected. And there are boundaries that we need to adhere to so that we can all kind of like live here. But, the idea of kind of squashing the concept of spirituality and consciousness down, if in the public school system there's generally no room, they don't even leave room for Christianity, let alone earth, your natural sort of systems of life, such as like paganism, neo-paganism, and things like that.
I mean, they're barely even leaving room for Americanism.
Right, they're not even
like you can't. Some of these places, or I mean, depends on the teacher, but they'll only have an American flag in their classroom, probably because the school forces them.
Right.
And if they could take it out, I'm sure they would replace it with there's a bunch of flags now that fly in these classrooms, and it's wild to me that you're gonna push such clearly these things that have an agenda upon these people. And I mean, I could see the other side too. America, we're created on, or by conquerors, right? So it's like, I get that, it's being drilled into us too when we're in school. A lot of stuff's being drilled into us in school and being forced upon us to learn and all this other stuff. American history, world history, to be completely honest, because they only know a certain amount. It's like, and even so, I don't want to like bash anyone who, is into that's super seriously like religious or but like the Bible is another book, and there's all the controversy behind that. So it's like I can see all the stuff on from all sides, but it's just like I try not to even like waste my time on any of it anymore. Because I know what I believe in. I know where I stand. I'm not in a state of confusion like a good handful of the majority of our population here in America is. They're all confused because all they do is, here's CNN. All right, now let me turn it on and let me just sit here and stare at it for hours and listen to all the crap that they're just spewing. That's complete lies. I'm sure none of our listeners here watch CNN.
Well, maybe some of our listeners do listen for the
sake of know what the hell they're saying. Yeah, I get that, but I also like, hey, if I hear news on in my house, I'm like, who is it?
It's triggering. It can be pretty triggering for sure. Even now, even as far as we've come, I still, the talking heads, the mockingbird, just propaganda. It's pretty triggering.
It's wild. And like coming from that industry, like it's just hilarious to think that people like, I mean, it's not hilarious. It's actually kind of scary. People can't see through the BS. It's like, how have you gone on this long without realizing you're being controlled, or you're being manipulated? And like I was saying earlier, you're being manipulated by the music, you're being manipulated by the visuals. And didn't we have that conversation about something, the connection between your eyeball and an actual camera? and that whole thing of
Yeah,
it's almost ritualistic on
it is.
how some of these things are captured and displayed to you. And
Mhm.
a lot of people, still just aren't there yet. And honestly, I think if you're not awake right now, it's you're like trying to wake someone up who's on like 7 sleeping pills. Like you're gonna shake them and shake them and shake them and shake them and shake them, and sometimes they're just not gonna wake up until they're ready to get up because they're so
Yeah.
drowsy still from all the stuff that they've been ingesting. But it took me a long time to realize, all the lies and stuff like that. I mean, why do you think I was in the industry? I wanted to create the new Hollywood here in Chicago originally when I graduated film school. And then once I realized what the actual job was, I'm working 12 to 18-hour days, 5 days a week, potentially 6 days a week. And when I worked on Paranormal Activity in LA, I worked 15 days straight, 18-hour days, where I was literally delirious, and having to sleep on on set, just to be there for my call time that was like 5 hours after I was done working. So it's
Mhm.
like there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that like people wouldn't even like just they couldn't
No.
even fathom, and I never fathomed it either. And then I started living it and I was like, F this, I want to create my own stuff. I know it's still going to be long hours, but I'd rather do all this um, for myself and for the betterment of society, besides adding to the problem, which is the media, you know?
Mhm.
So that's kind of like what I'm trying to do with LCA is just like create stuff that makes people think a little bit differently. But there's so much stuff that I have filmed already and that I do plan on filming, and even projects that with you that would bring so much healing to the world and to the field in general,
Mhm.
that no one's doing. Like, why
Yeah.
aren't people doing it? And it's actually banned. You're forbidden from doing certain things at these haunted locations that could
Help.
help.
That
And
could help.
that
Yeah.
is also a thing that's messed up and needs to change. Because like I was saying, it's like those people, you can buy a location and you can go investigate it. But on
Okay.
there, you cannot bring Ouija boards, you can't do rituals, you can't do all that. You can't do Ouija boards, you can't do rituals, and you can't do cleansings or clearings. I only
Mhm.
have a problem with that last one
Yeah.
because if I'm here and I'm communicating with a spirit that's asking for my help, who why would I not use my energy, my life force to help try to guide them to either the reset button, which to me is the white light. So if
Mhm.
anyone that's what I think it is. I think that's almost like the karmic loop there is the white
Mhm.
light.
Mhm.
Um or believe in your own adventure. You're not when you're dead, you are free. You are
Mhm.
no longer constricted. And
Yeah.
that's like there's just so much to it. And why if I'm investigating an asylum that was shut down in the 80s due to, the the poor treatment of people or anything else that God knows goes on there. If I'm connecting to someone there that wants my help, like why am I not allowed to facilitate that help or try to facilitate that help? It's because
Mhm.
these people are making money
Yeah.
on these spirits being there. And if
That's
they don't want to risk these spirits being freed from that said location.
how terrible is
And then
that?
you think about the people who were put there, and it's like these were poor farms. This was times when they didn't even know like what Down syndrome was. They were calling people mongoloids, like they wrote books to specifically tell people how to deal with their child who wasn't normal. And some of them were like, all right, well, we have a poor farm 200 miles out of the city, and you could just drop them off there and leave them. And people would do that. So then you have these kids who are like, maybe even autism, but I don't know if autism actually started back then. I don't know. I don't want to get into that debate, but there's so much people just didn't understand others. So when they couldn't understand it, or even if you had, and this is pretty messed up, if you had a wife and you didn't want her anymore, you could literally take her to these places and they would be put into these places with literal insane people.
Yeah.
So people who didn't belong there got stuck there because disgusting and vile things happened to them while they lived there, or they lost their life while they're there. Sometimes it's not even the energy of a dead person that's at these locations. It's the memory of these horrible tragedies. And like you're saying earlier with Point Pleasant and that stuff, that is this type of thing that we need to bring healing to. We need to open the doorways for them to return to this life that we're in, or just go off and do their own things and to be free and not tied down. And it's just so sad that you can't do that. And if you try to make a show on TV that's doing that, fuck that. They're going to pull the plug on you. They're going to pull the plug so quick because they don't want this positivity. They don't want the love, they don't want you feeling bad for these entities or these energies that are here. They want you to be scared. They want you to be in fear of the unknown. But that is life. We're always afraid of what we don't know until you come to understand it. And that is why most of my fear has left, because I understand it. And the things that I don't understand still hold that fear in me. Like I was saying earlier, why I'm not going to tell that story is because I literally still I do have that sliver of fear because I have loved ones. I know things that this can affect, or in the physical world, which is like, that's nuts. Like a lot of people would say that's crazy shit. Or it's just like literally you're nuts for thinking that, or I don't believe it because I didn't see it. Well, just because you don't see it and don't believe it doesn't mean that's not there.
Facts.
And that's with a lot of shit that we go through on a daily basis.
Most of it's unseen. Most of it is unseen. So we're about 7 minutes past the hour here. I wanted to go for about an hour, and I'm glad that we did. We got to cover some cool ground here. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to be moving over to Patreon. The link is in the description box. I will be doing private readings, interactive Q&A over on my Patreon here within 5 or 10 minutes. Anthony, what do you say? Do you want to join me? Or do you want to head out? What do you want to do?
No, I can hop on. And if anyone wants to hear one of my scary stories, maybe I'll tell it on that. I'll tell it on that.
I don't want to hear the story with the person.
No. Oh, no, I'm not. No, sorry. No one's going to hear that. No. I remembered a story and that I think is good. And I mean, it is still freaky, but then again, I mean, I think I know what I saw. And just to sum it up, I think it was gray, and it was in the basement of my friend's house. So
grays are so disgusting. Yeah. I literally hate them. They're so nasty. I think they are just putrid, rancid.
Well, I got a close-up glimpse of it. Is 8 feet close?
That's too close.
Okay. Well, okay. Then, yeah, and I was not the only person to see it. So
there was another witness. All right, you guys. So pop on over to Patreon if you're interested in getting some interactive, exclusive tarot readings. And really what that means is if you make it over to the chat, you'll be able to ask the cards direct questions. I'll be your reader this evening, not the cards themselves. They don't talk. But I will be interpreting your cards. So hop on over there, and you guys make sure you like this video. Check out Anthony's website. And also, please subscribe to his YouTube channel so that you guys can share in his vision and take a look at his awesome body of work. And just get excited with us for what is happening these days in the world of alternative entertainment and all things yet to come. And you guys join me again next week for another installment of Alchemy Chats. Don't know who I'll have on yet. I'm open to suggestions. We'll see. All right, everybody. Happy Thursday. Take care.
See y'all later. Thanks for having me on again.
Sure. Bye.
See ya.